So here's a fascinating question. How does an institution that's been around for 150 years get ready for a future that looks absolutely nothing like its past? Well, we're about to dive into a real-world case study on how one of India's top military think tanks is trying to do exactly that. And this really gets to the heart of it. This isn't just some thought experiment. The whole idea of a battlefield has completely exploded. It's not just land, sea, and air anymore. We're talking about cyberspace. We're talking about our own minds. So really, how do you get ready for a fight when the rulebook is being torn up and rewritten as we speak? At the center of this whole story is the United Service Institution of India, or the USI. Now, for more than a century, these guys have been the bedrock of military thinking. But they're facing a brand new threat, and it's an existential one: the risk of becoming what they call a heritage institution. Basically, a cool museum piece, totally irrelevant to the future. I mean, think about it. For 150 years, if you wanted to understand a past war, USI was the gold standard. But here's the problem. What about the wars that haven't happened yet? All that deep, incredible expertise in traditional warfare was actually creating a huge, dangerous blind spot to the threats that are emerging right now. This slide just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have what USI has always been amazing at. But look at the other side, the new frontiers. We're talking about cognitive warfare, which is all about using disinformation to target the human mind itself. Quantum computing, which could literally break all modern encryption, making every secret vulnerable. And of course, the weaponization of space. You can see this massive gap opening up between what they knew and what the country needed them to know. So, to bridge a gap that big, you can't just write another research paper. It's not going to cut it. You need a whole new system, a new engine for creating knowledge. And that's exactly what Project Future Frontiers was designed to be. And a goal here was, well, incredibly ambitious. The idea was to transform USI from an institution that was great at commenting on the past into a leading architect of India's future military strategy. Now, this is where it gets really clever. The heart of the project was something they called the mentorship engine. It was designed to solve a really common problem. You've got military officers with decades of priceless, hands-on experience, but maybe they aren't trained authors. So the engine pairs these operators with seasoned strategists who know how to write. It's a bridge to unlock a massive treasure trove of hidden knowledge. And to make sure this actually worked, they didn't just ask people to submit papers. No, they created this intense 6-month sprint. It was a highly structured process designed to take those raw, brilliant insights and forge them into polished, high-impact books. But you know how it goes. Even the most brilliant plan has to eventually collide with the real world. And before this project could get off the ground, it was put under a microscope for an intense, critical review. Yeah, they brought in an independent red team, which is basically a group whose only job is to poke holes in a plan. They were there to stress test everything, find all the hidden flaws and potential breaking points before they could do any real damage. So first, the good news. The review came back and said, look, the foundation here is solid. They absolutely nailed the problem, the plan was actually practical, and that mentorship model, a genuine game changer. But then came the red flags, and there were 4 really critical ones. First, trying to launch 12 books at once was just way too ambitious, a classic case of overreach. Second, where were they going to find enough top-tier mentors without burning them out? Third, the plan was great at producing books, but a little fuzzy on how those books would actually create impact. And finally, the process for handling classified info was a huge security risk. So, the whole project was at a crossroads. Do you just charge ahead and hope for the best? Do you scale it back so much that it loses all its energy? Or do you just shelve the whole thing? What would you do? The solution, it turns out, wasn't to kill the project. It was to make it smarter. The focus shifted to building a program that was more disciplined, more resilient, and ultimately much more likely to succeed. And the key recommendation was crystal clear. Forget the risky big bang launch of a dozen books. Instead, you start with a focused, manageable pilot program. Basically, you prove the concept on a small scale before you go all in. Walk before you run. And this slide really breaks it down nicely. It shows how they had a practical fix for every single risk. The overreach problem, solved by the phased pilot. Worried about mentor burnout? You create formal incentives. No clear path to impact? You build a dedicated track to get the ideas in front of policymakers. Security risk? You integrate that review process right from day one. So, for the pilot, they decided to focus on cognitive warfare, using information in psychology to mess with an adversary's decision making. It was a perfect pick. It was a super critical topic that wasn't getting enough attention, and it was the perfect way to show how valuable this project could be right out of the gate. At the end of the day, this project was about way more than just publishing some books. It was about something much bigger, and this quote just nails it. The future of warfare is being written today. USI must ensure India's voice shapes that future. So what can we all take away from this? Okay, sure. This is a story about a military think tank, but this lesson is universal. Every single industry, every organization has its own future frontiers, those big, disruptive changes that could make everything you're good at today totally obsolete tomorrow. So the real question is, what are yours, and what are you doing about them?